Hi everyone, welcome to Dave's Bonsai. On today's episode, we head back to Bonsai Acres. For those of you that are new to the channel, this past year I did introduce Bonsai Acres. And so if you've looked at my Bonsai Acres logo on the YouTube channel as well, the little circle there, yes, so that's my logo for Bonsai Acres, and it's just a dream of mine. And it's still just a dream, but it's slowly becoming reality perhaps. So my wildest dream is to have a plot of land of my own where I can grow trees and I can invite people up to work on bonsai. That's what I would love to do. I really love to work with newcomers to bonsai and get them enthused and impassioned like I am about the trees and the stuff we do with them. And so my vision on a grand scale is to have a plot of land, trees in the ground, have people come up and pick trees right from the earth and dig them up, put them in a pot, take care of them for a year, start working on them, and then to have a workspace, maybe a workshop on this piece of land that's just for working on bonsai trees. Don't know when it's going to come to fruition, but boy, I'm going to keep a positive attitude because I'd love it more than anything else. It's just one of my wildest dreams. And so that's Bonsai Acres. Now, I've had the chance to do a little pre-Bonsai Acres at a plot of land that a family friend, Neil Kruger, and the Kruger Tree Farm in Lake Elmo, Minnesota. My son has worked for Neil for over 5 or 6 years now, and it's a Christmas tree farm. And he had a little extra land, and when I asked him, I said, hey Neil, do you just have a little chunk where I could put 50 to 100 trees in and experiment with bonsai? And so that's what I've done. So I have a couple episodes on Bonsai Acres already on the channel. Go ahead and check the playlist for some of those introductions. But I have some footage over the last 2-3 years that I've been putting together a little bit of pieces at a time here. And so let's do some more of that right now. Now that first year I planted them in April of 2020, the following winter in January, I went out there for the first snow trip of the year where I got some snow footage. So here's a peek at the trees in the snow back in 2021 after almost about 7, 8, 9 months in the ground.
I've arrived out at the tree farm. It is Sunday, January the 24th, and I haven't seen the trees for a long time. We just got a fresh coating of 3 to 4 inches of snow in the last 24 hours, and so we're going to go trudge out into the snow and check out the trees and see how they're doing. So we're out at the property. You see the little trees way out there in the distance. Were planted last year by the Kruger Tree family, Kruger Tree Farm. And over there, we have some trees that have been around for several years. And tucked back behind there are my trees. Let's go see if we can find them. So in the north part of this lot, the trees are just about harvestable. Here we have my trees. Again, this is January the 24th of 21. These were planted in April of 20. And I had about 45 trees. There's about a foot of snow. I already walked through the first rows there. So they're covered up in some snow. I believe the Frasers are right here. And the balsams are right here. And then we have some Canaans, which has done really well. And then we have the ones up there we'll get closer to are the Korean fir. And we have some red and white. At the remaining 4 of 10 trees. There was one right here. That one died. And there's 4 there, so we lost 6 of the Fraser firs. I've been told of the firs, the Frasers tend to like a little bit more shade than some of the other pines. And even though we had those trees back there, it certainly didn't provide enough shade for these. They also seem to have gathered a little bit of a fungus. The balsams, on the other hand, we have all 10. The Canaans, which is kind of a cross breed, a combination of a balsam and a Fraser, and you get the Canaan. And these grew the tallest, for sure. And they're still doing pretty good. All 10 of the Canaans and all 10 of the balsam are doing fine. I take that back. There looks like there's a little gap right there. Maybe 9. And then the Canaans, I do believe there's a couple under the snow, unless they were destroyed somehow. There might be a couple missing right there. These guys are almost under the snow. Definitely slower grower. They're more compact. They have an interesting little white color in the bottom of their needles on the underside. And we have some whites and reds. So we got the whites and reds on the end. I had 5 reds, and all the 5 reds I've survived. That one's the most buried and protected. Reds with the 2 needles per cluster, whereas the whites have the 5. It's been pretty tough to get needles smaller on the reds and whites, I've heard, with bonsai, but we're still going to experiment. You'll notice the nice 4 or 5 branches around that year's growth in a leader. You have to cut those 5 down to 2. There's a strong leader and a smaller whorl there of branches. And then right there's a good example of all those branches growing from the same spot. I'm gonna have to do some trimming on there so we don't get a big bulge. So we have some trees to potentially work with in the coming year. I look at this great big one here with lots of bigger branches. And that one, for whatever reason, not quite as strong, but it's got more branches to work with there in the middle section. If we just snip off that top at some point to make sure we can decide where the leader goes. You can see the swirl of branches right on top for that top section. And the next 2, a couple thicker ones back there. Some growing on that left side, could be a left-leaning tree. Super exciting to be out here. Beautiful winter day. We had the snowstorm last night, 3 to 4 inches. Not a cloud in the sky right now. So the trees are looking pretty good. So not a lot of wind this winter, so we've been lucky there. This is kind of out in an open field, so we worry about the trees drying out. But they're in the ground. I started with about 45 trees. I'm left with about 35, 36, 37 left. So not too bad. These trees were a couple-year-old saplings when I got them, and this coming spring in April we're going to put another 50 to 100 into the ground, and Bonsai Acres is being born slowly but surely. We're going to see what happens with some of these test trees and experiment. One of the biggest things that seemed to be a question for people when they start bonsai, at least in our neck of the woods, is, you know, what's a good bonsai tree for Minnesota? People are working on Japanese maples, people are working on Japanese black pines, people are working on Satsuki azaleas. Yeah, you know, there's a lot of trees that don't grow here. And so I really wanted to make it one of my goals personally, and to maybe share with everybody else, which is why I do the channel, is to see what grows in Minnesota that can become a bonsai. So we've got trees, we've got conifers, and some of them back bud better than others. I don't have the deep experience yet, but that's why the experiment. I got a couple of them in pots in my yard, and so we'll see how they did over the winter, and we'll see what these guys do. So it's super exciting. Can't wait to see what this next year brings. Year 2 of growth, new couple-year-old saplings in the ground for year 2, and then in a couple of years from now, I'll have my own little nursery stock to do those experiments.
I'm sure overdue to head out there now this winter. We've had lots of snow, lots of cold. The trees are healed in real nice, hopefully, because we've had about 10 to 12, 14 inches of snow in the last couple of weeks altogether, so they should be really well protected. So I got to head out to the farm again, but I've been out there several times in the last couple of years, and we have more footage to dig through. So year 2 of the planting was April of 2021. So a few short months after this snow incident on January 24th, I believe this was April 24th or so, and we had to plant some more trees. So I got my son to help me to dig some more of the holes. We had to till a whole bunch first, And then my buddy from MBS, Elias, came out to help me with the tree plantings. And before I forget to say, thank you, Toby. Thank you, Elias. And by the way, Elias got to bring home some trees from this planting back in 21. So in 2023, I'm going to interview him again and see where his trees are 2 years later, and I'll be showing mine as well. But let's go back to April and see what we did in April for year number 2 of the plantings of Bonsai Acres. Enjoy.
Hello everyone, welcome to Bonsai Acres. So we're out here at the farm, and we've got year 1. It was about a year ago this weekend, that we put these pines into the ground. Firs. We've got some balsam, we got some Fraser, Canaan, Korean, and also some white and red pines. And we bought about 45 of those trees, put them in the ground. We've lost about a half a dozen so far. And this is year 2. So I'm up to 100 trees this year. We got 100 to put in the ground. So the land that's encompassing, circling around the trees, kind of in a horseshoe shape here, has been tilled by one of the farmers that puts a whole bunch of pumpkins in as much space as possible from the land that I am utilizing through a friend of the family. And so I just put in a text to Neil, my contact, the owner of the property, to make sure that I can plant the trees where I was thinking I was going to plant the trees. But this is year 2. So 100 trees this year, 45 last. Next year I hope to do 100 or more as well. And that'll be the second full year that these trees grow. And we're doing some experiments for the bonsai. So we've got some fir trees, and we got the red and white pines, all that can do really, really well in Minnesota. So super excited about the experiment and the ability to have this access to this land. So onwards and upwards. So I'm going to go ahead and continue to till a little bit around the edges of the old planting, because we got some spots we can put some new trees. And they tilled this so big and it's high with great big farm equipment. I'm going to flatten it out a little bit with my little tiny tiller. It's actually a medium one that you can get from the rental centers. And we're going to go to business here. We're going to get some work done. So I have to start tilling. So with the big farm equipment, they tilled this land probably in a matter of 60 seconds, this whole little patch here. This will take me 2 hours to go with the small tiller. The good part about them tilling this land is now it's all soft, but we've got these gigantic mounds, which is making it difficult for that little tiller to make good time or to really break apart that land. We can't just leave the land like this for the pine trees, because like potatoes, I suppose, that you mound up in a garden, I would have to put the pine trees definitely in the mound here, not here, because we don't want the rain to just gather in these little valleys here. And you know, pines don't like to sit in water most of the time. So I have to flatten out these mounds here, and then we'll plant the trees still on the mound, but not here, so the water can drain. The fear about that is if it's too much of a mound and the water drains away, the water won't get down into the roots. So back at it, we'll see how far this goes. So I tilled 3 rows to the west of the plot, and right here to the north of the plot, and just heard from my friend Neil that I need to plant to the east of the plot, which I really haven't touched yet. So I made good progress, but now I have to do the east of the plot, and that's my plot. So back at it. So from a distance, looks like we've made some good progress. Got some big humps here in the middle. What I started to do was to go across the grain right here in the first third over here. So that's looking a little more flat. But then we got some big bumps over here yet, and then it's a little bit more flat at the beginning. And the farmer who tilled this did a nice little curved angle when he left here so he wouldn't hit the trees. So we got some more work yet to do. But we'll go against the grain for the middle section here, and then we'll be having a relatively nice spot with not as many high bumps, but they're still there. We still got a couple crisscrossing
back and forth before we're done. Okay, we're about 2/3 of the way done. I've got the tiller for 2 hours, but if I go over, they'll bump me to 4. We're about an hour and a half in right now. But I think my back needs a little break. I think my tummy needs a little food. So we're gonna take a little lunch break. We're gonna come back out here and we're gonna finish smoothing out this east side of the Bonsai Acre plot. Had some good progress. It's day 2. All the tilling was done yesterday, and today we were supposed to have horrible weather. But the sun came out, the system's coming a little bit slower from the west, so we've got plenty of time before the crappy weather. So this is perfect for planting. It's cool. The clouds are gonna come over later. We're gonna get some rain, maybe even mixed with snow. We'll get these pines all nice and saturated from this first planting. Super excited. So I got Elias here planting some of the trees. I got Toby behind the camera right now. We're gonna start this beast. We're about 2/3 of the way done drilling our holes, maybe a little over a half. We got some more augering to do and some more trees to get in the ground, so back to work. The beefy work is over. Shoulders are gonna feel it tomorrow, but it's great to have 2 people. Thanks to Toby for helping out today for sure on that. So we've got our holes digged bigger than we need because we want to soften up the dirt a little bit and we can have control of where we're gonna plant these guys. So we have trees of various lengths from the nursery, and this is the Korean fir now. So we just got all the Canaans planted. We've got 25 of those in the ground, 23 I believe. And the Koreans are a little bit more of a kind of a stocky tree, very thick with its foliage, not growing super tall fast like some of the other pines, the firs and the white and the red pines, and super cool. And these Koreans also have that little bit of that white kind of frosty look on the bottom, very unique. So we got our root structure here. We're gonna get these in the ground, get a little moisture in there. We don't want to go too deep, of course, so we're gonna find that spot where we think it's good, and we're going to do what we do in bonsai. We're going to try to fan out these roots a little bit. We don't want to clump just right here and stick it in and bury it. We're going to actually try to fan these out like we would in the bottom of a pot. If we fan it out like that, look at that. That's going to be that 360-degree radial pattern we're looking for right out of the gate in the ground. So I put that in the ground like that on my little plot right there. So if the camera can come in and see that, if it's not seen it already. So look, we've got some roots going this way and this way. If we can do a little bit of that fanning and then put the dirt there, this tree is going to have so much more success later for us as a bonsai as compared to just sticking it in the ground. And so we got our soil in there soft right now. And then what we're doing, if we need to, is we're taking a spade and we're just going to shove it in here and push that dirt. Kind of pack it in for us a little bit. Get that heavy earth in there. So just like in our bonsai pot, we don't want this big old pot of air in there. More air, too much oxygen, the roots are going to die off, right? So we've got this where we want it. We're going to put a little bit of water in here, a couple of cups of water, just in case we don't get as much rain tonight as we're thinking, and we're good to go with the next tree. So we're going to take a couple of these trees to our homes. So Elias and I are going to do some experimenting at the house, right? We're going to put these into some nursery pots and just try to grow them that way too. Now we know they're going to grow faster in the ground, but we can control everything at our house. We can control the water schedule. We can control fertilization. Out here at the farm, if it doesn't rain for a couple of weeks, I got to come back out and water these trees. These we can control. Now you'll notice the root right here, tap root, from where my fingers are here, where the base of this starts, that's pretty deep. The life of this tree down the road, we're going to lose over half of this down the road. So we really have to go home and spread out these roots as much as possible. And these higher roots are going to be much more important than the bottom ones. But we're going to put that in a pot and we're going to see how that does at home. So I love the thickness of this trunk already, and it's got some neat little tiny little suggestions of curves. This one's going home. So we're in the air, it's a little breezy, it's not hot, but we gotta make sure we keep these roots nice and moist.
So I'm putting that right back in the brown paper bag that we got these in, and we're gonna cradle those in there and cover them from the sun and the wind for the rest of today. So let me get this one in there, get a little more water, and we want these roots to stay nice and wet. So we're gonna cover those up, and that's gonna protect those. The ones we bring home, we'll have those for later. So they stay viable and the roots don't just die off from all this wind, right? Let's get back to planting. Well, we did it. So a little over an hour, hour and a half, we dug about 100 holes, about 90 something holes. And we've got some Canaans in the ground. We have some Koreans in the ground, red and white pines. What do you think, Elias? We do all right?
Yeah, I think we did good.
Pretty cool process, huh?
Uh-huh.
Nothing like digging in the earth and getting your hands dirty. So we're gonna watch these carefully. We didn't get to mulch them today. We're gonna pack up here the rest of our stuff. We're gonna head out of here for lunch, and then we'll mulch them here in the next couple of days. We're gonna get a nice, probably casual rain/snow today. Give this a nice even watering, and we'll just keep our eye on it. Now, if it doesn't rain for another week or so, I'll have to come back out here and do some watering. Other than that, we'll let Mother Nature do its course, and we're these are like pre-bonsai, right?
Uh-huh, yeah.
So did you find a couple you think you might like?
Uh-huh, for sure.
Cool.
Yeah.
So, and we planted them some crooked, some still but not so crooked, and this is just super exciting. So we got to mark our calendars. We got to see what this is going to be like in about 2-3 years, right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, you're invited out anytime.
All right.
Just let me know.
Thank you.
I appreciate your help.
Yeah, thank you.
Any words of wisdom to the crowd on what we just did today, or anything that you learned today?
Learn, you know, can get a lot done quickly.
Yeah, with people. A lot of people helping.
Uh-huh, yeah.
Absolutely. I realize that. I can't tell you how much I appreciate your help, and Topi, who's again behind the camera. Thank you guys so much. And now we just again have to let Mother Nature do its thing. So, hey, we'll do an update as soon as we have an update to show, right? Some growth in the trees. All right, till then, take care.
It's not even my land, and Neil Kruger has been so nice to let me practice with some trees out there. We're going to have a conversation soon here in the next couple of months and say, how long is this going to be a reality for me to keep utilizing some of your land? He has other farmers that put some pumpkins on the land and some other crops here and there, and so he hasn't kicked me off yet. He's been so gracious, so thanks to Neil Kruger as well, and we'll talk about that. But we have some more plantings in the ground, and that was 2021, and so I've been out there since, of course, in 2022, and that's some of the previous videos as well. So again, check out the playlist for Bonsai Acres. We have more footage to go, so we'll be talking more about that in future episodes, and of course, I do plan to head out there here in the coming days to go see Bonsai Acres in the winter. It's been a blast. I hope one day I can be filming some of my shows at my piece of land, the real full Bonsai Acres in all its glory, and I hope to have some of you out there someday working on bonsais right alongside me, picking some of the trees from out of the ground and just hanging out in a beautiful setting with some great people working on some great trees. I hope that dream can come a reality. I'm going to keep fighting for it, and I love your support along the way. Thank you for watching the channel. It's making it all possible. Hey, take care of you, take care of your bonsai, and until we meet out at Bonsai Acres, we'll catch you on the next video.